Hi folks, Gregory here. Today I'm going to show you how to link Microsoft SQL Server to Microsoft Access database. To begin doing so, we're going to open the Microsoft SQL Server, and I would like you to note one thing here, that the server name is important because this is what you're going to use later on to make the link between the Microsoft SQL Server and the Microsoft Access. Now the server type is going to be database engine, and the authentication will be Windows authentication. These things will be defaulted after you have downloaded the SQL Server. So I'm just going to connect here. I'm going to database, I right click and click a new database. I'll name this database Greg underscore DB. You can name it anything basically, and press OK. Now if you expand the databases, you're going to see the database that we just created here. I'm going to open this and go to, expand, and go to tables, and I'm going to create a new table. A new table, I'm going to now create some column names and put in the data type, just as you normally do if you were creating a Microsoft Access file or a database, where you will put it in the column name. So we'll put in a F name for first name, and the data type, you'll put it as varchar. So we've just basically created some fields to be populated when we go to Microsoft Access. And just probably put in one more, which should be sex. Okay, I'm going to save this, and I'll give it table name persons. Press OK. Right, now if I go back to the tables and I expand that, you'd see our database here, persons, that was just created. I'm going to right click and edit top 200 rows. Now we see there's no information within the database. So this is where we're going to go to the Microsoft Access side. We're going to make the link and populate it so that it will show the link between the SQL Server and Access. So let me just close this off. Now when you go to Microsoft Access, which should be in the Microsoft Office, we're going to press Shift, right click, and run as administrator. Right? This is so that we'll be able to make the link between the SQL Server and Microsoft Access. So I'm just going to create here, new, I'll just leave it at database tree, and I'm going to the external data, and I'm going to go to more, the ODBC database. Now the difference between these two features, importing the source data and linking it to the data source, is that with the import data source, what it does is create a copy in Microsoft Access. Now when you link the data, it will create a copy, but when you update the fields or populate the fields more so, it is going to do a real-time population also in the Microsoft SQL Server. So what we want to do is have that done, so we're going to click on link to the data source by creating a link table. We go to machine data source, the tab on top here, we click new, user data source, and we click next. We'll scroll down here to SQL Server, next, and finish. Now we can basically name it anything. I'll just put it as SQL uh, SQL Server, and the description is a SQL link. Now this is where the server name comes in play. So the server name that you use to connect to in the Microsoft SQL Server is the same name you're going to have to use here. And well, I'm unable to paste it there, but I do remember what it is, so I'll just type it in. It has to be exactly as it was in the SQL Server in order for it to make the link. Alright, we press next. We're using the Windows NT authentication. Next. And here what happened is that the Microsoft Access has a default database, which will be the master, but we already created ours, so I'll just use the drop down and go to Greg database underscore DB, or whatever name you called it, and we click finish. We want to test the data source. We've seen test was completed successfully, and press OK. Now here we have the link that has been made. I'm going to click on it, press OK, sorry, and if you scroll, well, you don't have to scroll on because it's going to be right to the top, the database that we created, and we'll press OK. Right, you want to click all of the fields so that you'll be able to populate them. Press OK, and in Microsoft Access you would see the database that you created right here on the left hand tab. So let's just open that up, create some fields, just put some names, let's populate them. Make her go Brad, to show you how this way. Now we're going to save this, and just going to close this off and go back to the Microsoft SQL Server. So go back to our databases. Here we see our database. Expand, go to our tables, and let's just edit top 200 rows. So the same information that we populated in the Microsoft Access, which would be the Gabby Foss and the Brad John, this shows you how in real time it populates the database and the table in Microsoft SQL Server. And that there, my friends, is showing you how to link Microsoft SQL Server to Access database.